Welcome back to another episode of The Gray in Between, where we dive into the stories that live in the shades of gray. I'm your host, Lola, here to explore the fascinating tales from Reddit and beyond, where life's complexities come to life. In a world where not everything is black and white, we're here to navigate the in-betweens, offering a fresh perspective, a little advice, and a lot of heart. So sit back, relax, and let's journey through the gray together. All right, guys, let's get into the first story. I organized a fake wedding, and now my ex-wife is threatening to expose me. I organized a fake wedding and married my wife. And now my actual wife is threatening to expose me. 7 years ago, I met my now wife while completing my master's degree. She was a foreign student and we were in the same flat for student accommodation and we hit it off immediately. It wasn't long before we started dating. And then fast forward a year or two and she decided to stay in the country and we moved in together. I love this woman and things were going great, but she eventually started to bring up the topic of marriage. I mean, is that not the purpose of getting to know someone? Unpopular opinion, right? Not everyone wants to be with someone for the purpose of marriage, but that's kind of like the end goal. Otherwise, you should have that discussion in the beginning. But I could understand why she had that assumption oh, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to live with you. Adele, we're going to get married. Her family is very traditional and she insisted that if we were going to continue being together, then we have to get married. I was strongly against this, but I seriously cannot say no to this woman and I eventually agreed. Not only did you want to get married the first time, but you got married twice. So I don't know what direction this is going in. Now, here's the kicker. I'm technically still married to my ex-wife. We did not end things on good terms, so I left without getting a divorce, changed my number and contact info. I did not want to have any contact with my ex-wife. And since my wife is foreign, she doesn't know the proper legal processes required to get married here. I told her that I would deal with the legal aspect while she organized the wedding. She did have some question as to why she never had to sign anything or provide any form of ID, but I lied and said that it wasn't needed for where we live. So you're a piece of shit. That's what we're kind of getting into, that you are. We had a large wedding and it would have been absolutely magical if it weren't for the fact that the whole time I was sweating bullets, wondering if anyone would find out it was all a ruse. The only people who had any idea it wasn't a proper wedding were the staff, where I said that we were already legally married and were having a reception now that we had the money. We've been married for almost 3 years now and she still has absolutely no idea, and it seemed like I had gotten away with the impossible. That was until last week when my actual wife reached out to me. Apparently, she found out through a mutual friend that I had remarried and got my contact info from them. She called me all sorts of names and said that she would make sure that my wife finds out about my lies. I begged her not to and offered to get an actual divorce, but she told me that it was too late for that. I've been stressed out of my mind these past few days and honestly don't know what to do. Telling my wife is absolutely off the table, as I know for a fact that she would leave me without hesitation. So yeah, that's my situation. He does have an update, but before I even get into that, this whole story pisses me off. You started your marriage off on a lie. Stuff like that pisses me off because you took their naiveness in a sense because they don't know better and use it against them. That was that's abuse. It's a sense of abuse. If the roles were reversed, you would have had such a hissy fit. You would have divorced her in an instant. Why didn't you divorce your first wife? Makes absolutely no sense. You could have had an amicable, clean. It seems like you had her under your thumb, so you could have made her sign anything to make it a clean cut. So you just ew, I don't like this. So he has an update, okay? The last couple of days have been a whirlwind, and I'm making this update to say that you were all right. My ex-wife told me about the false marriage and my life has completely collapsed. My now ex-wife completely blew a gasket and was furious with me. She accused me of keeping her as a mistress so I could have 2 wives, which I tried to tell her wasn't true, but she wasn't having it. She stormed out of the house and is staying with a friend. And the closest thing to contact I've had with her is through this friend. She told her friends, my family, and even my job about what happened, and they're all taking her side and have shut me out completely. I got fired and my dad called me up last night and told me that I'm not welcome back home and not to contact my parents or my family. I genuinely don't know what to do now, as I will not be able to pay my rent, especially without my wife helping out financially. A lot of you mentioned the issue of immigration, which I thought would not be a problem as she had a work visa. As it turns out, she had a work visa, but expired a long time ago. She thought that she would be fine since we were married, but after she learned it was a sham, she has been in a lot of hot water. Apparently, after she contacted the home office, they said that if she did not get voluntarily deported, she would get detained and will get a minimum of 2 or even 5-year ban from entering the country regardless. I'm not entirely sure how her family took the news, but according to the friend she's staying with, they are not happy with her and might not take her back either. So yeah, a lot has happened. I feel like complete shit and know that this could have been all avoided, and now I have completely blown up both of our lives. I feel so bad for her. You are incredibly selfish, lied and manipulated her for what? Your own personal gain. You don't deserve either of them. She wasn't able to make a real informed decision because of you. And now that's why she's in hot water. She thought, okay, if I stay here, my work visa, I'll get married to him. She's not using you for that. But if she fell in love in the same time, why is that wrong? You could have divorced your ex-wife without her permission. This all just sounds like a bunch of weird, I don't know. Am I wrong for blowing up at my pregnant wife and putting my foot down after her blow up? We are renting a 2-bedroom house from an older man and we'll call him G for this. I don't know how to really describe G, but older retired military is the closest. This man has been nothing but kind to us, far more than either of our parents have been. We live in California and the average rent in our area is around $2,600 for a 2-bedroom. At first, we were a bit skeptical because the house was advertised, but G wanted to meet the tenants personally before anything else. The listing stated $2,500, but was also stated negotiable. We met with G and I don't know if he liked us or felt sorry because we told him our story, but he offered us the place for $1,600. Any problems we have ever had throughout the 6 years me and my wife have lived in the house was fixed within 48 hours. G is the landlord everyone wishes they had. He isn't money hungry, and if rent is a bit late, he understands as long as you keep him informed. We haven't had any issues with him in 6 years. I have asked him why he is renting the house to us so cheap, and his story broke my heart. He bought the house for his daughter a couple of years before we moved in, but unfortunately, she and her fiance died in a car crash and he couldn't find the heart to sell it, but also just doesn't want it to stay empty. Wow. So sad. My wife is currently 5 months pregnant. G had some health scares, so we haven't seen him for the last 6 months. He came over the day before yesterday to tell us that he is healthy again and will again take up the care responsible, so if anything is needed to give him a call. He saw my wife and obviously the belly and asked how far along she was, and we told him, and he just had the smile from ear to ear and said, "Congratulations." Before he walked off, he said kids are expensive, so as a baby gift to me, let's make the rent an even $1,000 until the baby is born. Oh my God, G is a Gonza. He's an angel. What? Please tell me that she's not going to blow up at G, because that's going to make me so sad. I can see why you would get mad at her. I have no idea why, but for some reason, this set my wife off completely. She started yelling at G, calling him an old man that is looking down on us and that he can take his useless gift and shove it up his ass. She was yelling for like 3 minutes, and every time I tried to stop her, she would get louder and louder. I don't know what got into my wife, but at the end of her rant, she said, "If you really want to gift us something for our baby, you should not let us pay rent at all, you stupid fucking old man. That is what you call a gift." Oh my God. Dude, that's wild. That is so out of line. Damn. G took everything she said and didn't say a word back. His face just went from happy to completely emotionless. After my wife was done, he just left. I blew up on my wife and asked her what the fuck she was thinking, as G never did anything wrong to us. She started to cry and refused to talk to me the rest of the night. Every time I brought it up, she would start crying, but I caught on to the crocodile tears and told her to just stop because I want an explanation. Yesterday morning, before I left for work, I told her she better be ready because, ready or not, when I get home, we will talk about what happened and I will not accept her fake tears. I got a text from G telling me we have to talk. He asked to meet at the house at 5 and I agreed. We met up at the house and he asked to come in. We sat in the living room and he asked if my wife could join us and she did. He didn't ask why, what happened, nothing. All he did was lay out what will be happening going forward. He said the gift will no longer be happening and he'll expect the full rent at the end of the month, no excuses. He said the rent will stay $1,600 until our lease is up for renewal, which is ending at the end of this year. And when the lease is over, we are more than welcome to renew. Then he'll be charging us the market rate for the house. That is more than a $1,000 increase. I tried to talk to him, but he refused to listen and then just walked out of the house. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Like, your wife was a complete biatch. Like, I would be pissed too. My wife was white as a ghost on the couch and stammered, "What are we going to do?" because she knows an $1,000 increase in the rent will lead us back to living on paycheck to paycheck. My paycheck is enough to cover literally every single bill until my promotion in 14 months. I blew up and told her this shit is her doing. She asked me to run after G and try to talk to him. G is refusing, and the only message I got back was to please contact me if it has something to do with the house, not for any personal matters, as our relationship will only be strictly landlord and tenant. That is it. My wife is frantically trying to call G and apologize, but he isn't answering her calls. She knows her part-time paycheck might not be enough, and I told her we will need to downsize, and she is not happy. I'm not happy with my wife at all, and she's calling me an asshole because I'm mad at her. $1,000 doesn't sound like a lot for some, but for me, it is a lot of money. My wife's paycheck would not have been touched for rent or anything, but now it has to, as I told her she will have to cover that $1,000 if she wants to stay in this house, as I refuse to take up longer hours or more shifts. She is devastated because her part-time job salary might not be enough and she will have to go back to full-time work. The situation sounds rough, I know, but like I said, I'm up for a promotion at work for my manager's job when he retires in 14 months. I'm assured the job and have it in writing. The increase is enough for my wife to only do part-time work, but that will be in 14 months. And she has to cover the missing grand for the rent as I'm refusing. I don't want to move, but if she isn't covering the missing grand, then we'll have to. Your wife just shot your family in the foot. She fucked up big time. You will not find landlords like that, especially in California. Especially in today's economy, every month, every year when your lease is up, they raise it, raise it, raise it, raise it, raise it, raise it. When you have a good landlord, good landlords will treat good tenants well. That's why he really liked you guys and he kept that money. You guys were respectful, but she like, that was like not even a little blow up, but she said some really up shit. I honestly dead ass think she broke that old man's heart. And good for him for not just evicting you guys or blowing up, because that's what I would have done. And the worst part is, I think he saw you guys as the children he lost, because he lost his daughter and her fiance, and you guys moved in right after that and you guys were having a kid. I think he was, kind of living life through you guys and seeing if his daughter was alive, that would have been her too. And for you guys, not for you guys, but for your wife to shit on him the way that she did, messed up. Also, isn't it ironic that your wife thought a discount on rent was a sign of pity, but offering free rent would have been a real gift? Not rational at all. Damn. My husband cheated on me, and everyone around me is telling me that boys will be boys. That's so stupid. Okay. My husband and I are both in our late 20s and have 2 children together, 2 dogs and 4 cats. I know it's a lot. We basically have a lot together and we built a whole life together, and I'm so mad he did this to us and just destroyed everything. I live in a small town, and even though he's the one that cheated on me, everyone would still look at me like I can't keep a man. This happened to so many girls I know. Divorce is just so shameful and people just make it seem like it's my fault. Like, what did she do to make her husband cheat? Or she probably stopped sleeping with him. My husband cheated on me with a random woman he met on Instagram. I don't have physical evidence anymore. He deleted everything. But they slept with each other 2 times in one day when he told me he was just going to hang out with friends one weekend, but instead he spent the whole day with the whore. I contemplated divorce. It's been on the table for 4 months when I first found out, but my family and friends are successfully talking me out of it because it's embarrassing that I'll be a single mother at almost 30 with 2 children and no one will marry again and I'm just baggage. Oh my God. That whole sentence, like, I can go hours on why that's so incorrect. That's what our society likes to tell us, especially people who look like me. That society will tell women, like, it's okay, stay with the man, he cheated on you, but like, what about your kids? What about what society says? What about this? Why does no one say, what about you? How are you feeling? What do you want to do? As a woman, everything is focused on everyone else besides yourself. That's like our whole life of our story. It's like, oh, but what will your neighbors say? What will your mom's friends say? What will your kids say? What will they say? But it's like, no one is focusing on, damn, your husband just completely broke your marriage. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How can you ever be intimate with this man again? How can you ever be in the same house with this man again? Let's find you a safe space. You can do it. You can walk away. You can find someone better. You will find someone who will appreciate you and your kids. It's always just the most negative. Sure, it's a lot more difficult. Trust me, I know that. But I would hate if I went through something like that for people to convince me to stay in my suffering. That's the worst piece of advice you could give. Sorry, it just really makes me mad. Continue, Malala. I will admit it. It will be embarrassing if I did end up going through with the divorce, because where I'm from, divorce is incredibly shameful, especially when the woman is left divorced and as a single mom. I posted my husband all over social media, like almost every post, and I would literally have to delete my entire social media because I won't be able to stand up against the shame after a divorce and being absent from social media. Where's the periods in here? I can't stop breathing. I posted my husband all over social media, like almost every post, and I would literally have to delete my entire social media because I won't be able to stand up against the shame after a divorce, and being absent from social media would be easier than facing everyone and having people find out I'm divorced. Divorce isn't a taboo word. Divorce. It's not a bad thing to say. Society has put that on us, but it's not. Even like, not to get like religious and stuff, but in Islam, it isn't, if you are in a suffering situation, it's like mandatory on you to get divorced. You're not supposed to stay in a suffering situation, a bad situation for your mental health, for your physical health, for your kids' health. You're not supposed to. Gosh. Everyone will know something is up, and I know this divorce wouldn't be a secret. It'll get out and people are going to make my life a living hell when they find out we were divorced. So I'm just staying married at this point to save the embarrassment, and I don't want to start all over. I think my family and friends do have a point. My friends think I'll never find a guy like my husband who is a good father and takes care of me, especially at our age, and they constantly praise my husband because he takes kids to doctor's appointments and goes to dad events at schools, since men don't do that, and those are usually women-dominated spaces. Okay, I have to know where you live, because this sounds very backwards, not modern. What's the word for not modern? I can't think of it. Whatever. Old school. Not old school, but there's another word for it. This is 2024, baby. This is America. This is like you have to parent together. Stop. We're giving men, not all men, of course, but he's doing the bare minimum. Good, you're taking your child to doctor's appointments. Good, you're taking your children to school. That's your child. That's your son or daughter. That's just as much as they're my son or daughter. One's not above the other. They're both equally ours. It's 50% me, 50% you, but 100% effort together. Like, why are you, like, your friends suck ass. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. And hello, you're both not even 30 yet. They're saying at your age, especially at our age, this sounds like very Utah-esque. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Please, people from Utah, don't hate me for saying that. If it's not, I love you guys. I've been there. I love Utah. No one thinks it's that serious enough for a divorce, since he doesn't love anyone else but me. And for men, sex is just sex, and they can forget a one-night stand easier than women. So they think I'm doing too much and just over-exaggerating. They told me to forgive and forget, and we started going to marriage counseling over this, and we've been going for the past 2 months. And our counselor had a lot of couples come to her about infidelity, so it kind of made me feel better that many other couples struggle with the same thing. But I don't know if this is the life to live, even if I'll be unhappier and lonely without him. It's also a financial thing. I live in a 50-50 state, so unless if he's serious, at-risk, dangerous person, which he's not, I can't get full custody, so that means I won't get child support and haven't been married for that long for alimony, and I don't have enough means to survive off one income. This is why I think it's so important that before you get into a marriage, I stress this to everyone I know, especially girls, you have to have some sort of independence. You have to be together with this person because you want to, not because you have to, because right now you have to. I know, God forbid, something happens to me and I'm married, I have kids. God forbid, I would hate for this to happen. He cheats on me, I'm out. I'm out. You know why? Because I can work. 2, I have a very, very, very great foundational family who will have my back no matter what and wouldn't let me stay in that kind of situation. I have friends who I know at a drop of a hat would pick me up from wherever I am across the world, bring me back and make me live with them. You have to create that unit before you start building on your own. And I didn't think people search for that unit just to start from scratch. And I'm like, no, you guys have to come together. This is like, holy moly. The only person qualified about making decisions about staying in your marriage is you. Fuck what anyone else thinks. Dead ass. And I hate that they're giving you that advice. This is like horrible. This is like core Utah shit. I'm so sorry, Utah people. I love you. It's not all of you. If you don't resent him now, you probably already do. Your life is gonna suck. Because as girls, we're always in here. And you're always gonna think back to the moment as like, how could you have done this to us? How could you have betrayed me, your kids, your family? For what? For what? Just sex? We weren't worth it to you? Walk away. Am I wrong for laughing in my sister-in-law's face when she DNA tested my daughter? Okay. I, 30 male, have a daughter who's 6. I'm not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any of next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. That's a real friend. You know how they say like you have your family and then you have your chosen family? Like that's a solid one. Gosh, I love to see it. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, who we'll call Lily, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and bio dad. Most people assume that I'm her biological dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiance for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was. And I explained that was Lily's mother. My sister-in-law got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My sister-in-law got a DNA test on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test. And when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them into my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. Oh wow, bro, why do people go out of their way to insert themselves into other people's business? Like, why did she have to know? I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiance, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother says she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like I'm the asshole, especially considering my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. I'm asking for opinions, mostly just validation. So, was I the asshole? Okay, who is your brother's wife to confirm or invalidate who that daughter is to you? If your brother had no problem with it, you have no problem with it, who are you to come and try to butt in? If you wanted a DNA test, you could have done that yourself. I don't understand people like that. She is bad energy. She sounds like the type of person just to want to like stir shit up. I'd be very careful. What makes it worse too is that your brother is just like whipped and just wants to appease his wife, because if she had done something like that, there's a way to tell people that you did something wrong and you need to correct your actions without being disrespectful. But he's just going to take her side regardless. The brother knows that that's your adopted kid. The brother knows. If she had just asked him and said, hey, like, what's the situation on that? Sure, do that. But that's so stupid. And hello, let's not forget the fact that she said this all in front of the daughter. That is beyond. She deliberately tried to hurt that child. I don't know for what reason, but update. My sister-in-law ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. Oh, see, this kind of makes more sense because the fact that he took the sister-in-law, his fiance side, just didn't make sense at all. Like, why would you do that? You should know the situation. When I first adopted Lily, my brother, for some reason, believed that Lily was my bio daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mom were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, Lily's mom told me that Lily was mine and that she was just going to say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. Sister-in-law was under the impression I believed I was Lily's bio dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mom and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that the other guy in the picture, Lily's actual bio dad, looked a lot like Lily. I also want to clarify, I didn't tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture because she had specifically pointed to Lily's mom, and I assumed she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know my brother had been telling her lies for nearly 2 years. She got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually Lily's bio dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was really Lily's bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course, the results proved I wasn't lying and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiance that he had lied about the circumstances, which is why my sister-in-law confronted me with the results. She also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mom had an affair and cheated on her father, got pregnant with another man's kid, and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew up very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She had wanted to sit me down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter, she got angry thinking I was being led on to believe I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid. And she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results in my face. The problem I have about that, right? Even if you were under the assumption he was raising someone else's child, that child has no one. If you thought that Lily and her husband was the real parents, which they were, and he thought it was his kid, what did you want him to do about that? You are fucking up that child's life. I think it's so selfish. Like, I don't like this at all. My sister-in-law does feel very guilty, and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the test because she thought she was doing the right thing. I also forgive her for the way she told me about the results, because clearly affairs are a sensitive subject for her, and I can understand why she would have exploded like that. I'm pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. When I called and asked my brother about this, he admitted it. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. He told sister-in-law that I was Lily's bio dad and was aware of the fact. He took it a step further and said that me and Lily's mom were together at the time of Lily's conception. Both me and my parents are going low contact with my brother for a while now. I know I'll forgive my brother eventually, but I can't do that right now. He believed I was low enough to have an affair with a married woman, get her pregnant, take no responsibility, allow her to pass off the kid as another man's, and then only take responsibility because her mom died. I think both your brother and your sister-in-law are getting off way too lightly. Low contact, like, okay, he butted into your family, lied to his wife, and sensitive issue or not, I don't care what happens in your own life. That girl violated your daughter's privacy and called her an affair child in front of her, deliberately. Like, you're an adult. I hate people like, well, I have trauma, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, then fix it. That's not my responsibility at all. I'm not responsible for what triggers you in your life. You have to be able to have some sort of, it's on you to go get that fixed or have a better control over it. Damn. Your brother has problems. He needs to go to therapy and figure out this sort of like, it sucks that your brother's initial thought was that no guy would be that nice and adopt a kid who's not his, who didn't want kids. This just showed your character, because I don't think your brother was thinking of the fact that that girl would have gone into adoption, or God knows where she would have gone lost in the system. And because you loved your friend that much, you took on her child, which I would love to have. I do have friends like that. Thankfully, I know would do that for me, but it's nice to see that someone actually put their action where their mouth is and actually do it. So props to you, man. Okay, you guys, this is the last story for today's episode, and it's going to be from the viewer's corner. So this is one sent directly from you guys to me. This person liked to remain anonymous, and she says, I'm going through a divorce and want a general opinion about my situation. A little backstory about me. I, 24 female, am a Muslim and Asian, raised by a single mom. My father died when I was 1 year old. Growing up, I was mostly lonely as my mom had to be the man of the house too, while being a mother of 3 very young kids. My siblings were approximately 15 and 8 at the time. Needless to say, my childhood wasn't the best and I had a lot of trauma, but that's a whole nother story. My family tried their best to protect me in every way possible, and they are the reason I didn't give up on life yet. Back in 2018, I was in my junior year of university and I met my now husband, 29 male, who was in his 3rd year at the same department. He was an amazing guy and the greenest flag from the beginning, even though we had our ups and downs during our courtship, but I always saw him as the strong and brilliant man I have met at first. In 2022, he proposed. I clearly remembered I asked him to please don't break my heart. I have been through a lot in my life, seen a lot, and I can't afford to lose my sanity again. He said all the right things, did all the right things, and I said yes. He was leaving for Canada soon for a postgraduate program, which he got a scholarship from, and he was adamant that he wants me to join him. I was a graduate by then, working at a tech startup, and was planning to apply for postgraduate programs too. We both let our families know that we want to get married before he leaves so that I can join him in Canada after 6 months. After a lot of convincing, his side of the family, and family drama, Asians, we can relate. We were married. Yeah, there's a wedding drama is a very big thing in the Muslim community, especially in the Asian, Central Asian, all that stuff community. So I know, not that I'm married, but I know I have siblings. My mom and siblings were very impressed by him. He was very polite and a gentleman in front of them and said all the right things. Specifically, my mom gave him the same love and care she'd give to her own son. His family was very welcoming and I was so effing happy. Life seemed perfect. We planned our honeymoon as a very simple getaway as he was leaving in 7 days and his mom wasn't in her best physical form. She had a very rough couple of weeks in the hospital prior to the wedding. Anyways, after coming home from the honeymoon, I started to see a change in him. It was so drastic and sudden. I was having such a hard time adjusting with it. I ignored it thinking he is sad because he has to leave in a few days. We started shopping for him, the necessities for the trip and so on. 2 days before his flight, he said to me that he is not going. Can't go like this, leaving his sick mom and divorced elder sister, 32 female, alone. He wants to get his sister remarried before he could begin his new journey. I was surprised, but I understood it's his family at the end of the day and he is concerned. I tried to tell him that I am here and I will take care of his family as it is mine too now and he should go for his master's as it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Nothing worked. He was adamant that he is not going anywhere. I was very confused as I know he has worked his ass off to land the scholarship. After a few hours, he came clean that actually the university had rejected his application due to his English language score. You have to get a specific score if you're an international student. The professor/lab director has granted his scholarships, but if he doesn't have the offer letter from the university authorities, he cannot fly. I was heartbroken for my husband. I hugged him and we both cried. He was embarrassed to tell the truth to his or my family and told me to lie about it. He came up with the story where he told everyone that the professor betrayed him and withdrew the scholarship. I felt odd and slightly disagreed with him, which made him more upset. So I decided to go with it as I wanted to support my husband and understood he was embarrassed. While these were happening, both the families were nothing but supportive. He didn't have a job and was very insecure about it. I made sure to talk to him about it, encouraged to start again, go out there and all that. Even my mom and siblings had several conversations with him that he has nothing to be embarrassed or insecure about. He is a talented guy and he will find his way, but nothing worked. He completely gave up on everything. We were newlyweds, in the same room all the time, but he barely looked at me or talked to me. I was work from home at the time and my work setup was inside the bedroom. I used to wake up every morning, work, wait for him to wake up, getting ignored by him, asking him if he needs anything, trying to make a conversation and failing. This was the routine for 7 months. My life became an absolute hell. He started verbally and emotionally abusing me, pushing me to my lowest where I reacted back and said things. It went to a level that his family started to notice and they did try to make him stop, but he couldn't. Slowly, I started to realize that his family wasn't really being serious about it. Rather, they were just casually telling him off, which he knew, and that's why it didn't matter to him at all. I used to break down a lot and started having episodes of migraines for 4 to 5 days. He used to beg me for forgiveness every time he fucked up and promised me that this was the last time. I couldn't bring myself to let my family know that was happening to me. During these months, I finally could convince him to apply for a job at the company one of his sisters, he has two, was working at the time. He got the job and started working there. I was very optimistic that this might get him back to a normal state, but it didn't. Same thing was happening in a different way. Bunking office, just sleeping at home, staying up all night and playing video games. The office people started complaining to his sister, and the sister called me up as he was not picking up any of her calls. She was very upset and was saying she recommended him because I asked her to, and now her reputation is getting slandered. I had enough by then. I asked him what the is wrong with you and what is this behavior? He started shouting and screaming saying, I don't do cheap jobs like this. I'm not made to be a corporate slave. Don't you dare tell me what to do. I'm the man, not you. You're the reason why I'm so miserable. You're the reason why my scholarship got canceled. You're unlucky for me. Get out of this house. I gotta keep going, but I will have a lot of thoughts. I couldn't believe my eyes. This is the man I fell in love with? Absolutely not. I decided to go to my mom's after my work shift was done. Coincidentally, my mom came to visit me that same day. The moment I saw her, she was so happy. I couldn't bring myself to tell her what was happening and ruin her peace. Like always, my husband begged and pleaded that I forgive him. He will never do such things again, but his words never became actions. He never used to plan anything for me. I used to ask him several times, please, can we go out? I feel really suffocated, but he didn't acknowledge any of it. One more thing, he was so obsessed with getting his elder sister remarried. It was bizarre. Looking for a suitable man all the time, being upset about it and making me his punching bag through all of this. One time he said his happiest day on earth will be the day when his sister was married again. Now the second part of the story. After 7 months in his family home, he decided to come to the UK for a self-funded master's program and told me to prepare. He didn't even ask me if I wanted this. I never ever wanted to come to the UK for several reasons, including knowing the fact that it is very hard to build a life here as an international student, and I knew this was not something he can go through. UK is not for laid-back people, but he was adamant and I had to eventually give in. In 2023, we came to the UK. My elder sister is a citizen here who got married to a British and was living in London. He decided that I'm going to live at my sister's place while he will live in the city where his university is, which is 6 hours away. Everyone was worried that why he wants to live separately. I didn't take it well. I asked why would I do that and wanted to go with him. He convinced me that it's only for 6 months and then we have to save some money for our visa next year. These 6 months I won't have any expenses if I live with my sister and will be able to save as much as possible, even though I wasn't on board with it but didn't have much choice in the matter. His father sold 80% of his business share to send him here and he asked me the day before our flight, "You are my daughter and I'm trusting you with my life saving. Please handle it carefully and manage my son." This one line stuck with me. I knew he didn't have faith in his son because of the way he acted and I didn't want to fail him. Just 4 hours after coming to my sister's place, he threw a complete fit and said he wants to go back to his home and doesn't want to be here. I understood he left his family and it's normal to be upset. I tried to console him as much as I could while grieving myself for the same reason. I had also left my whole family behind to begin a complete new one. One day while living at my sister's, he threw tantrums like a 5-year-old. He was screaming, shouting, and cursing at me and my entire family. The reason for this was me not agreeing to go back with him to our country. He said he will hit me and disfigure my face, punch my sister, and so many other disrespectful and disgusting things. He was saying these to his parents and sister over the phone. His mother called my mom and said we are torturing her innocent son and making him miserable. Oh my God, icing on the cake. My sister was at work and my brother-in-law was on a work trip in the States. Of course, she came to know what was happening and had a conversation with him where he was very much disrespectful. Eventually, his uncle intervened and apologized on his behalf and asked if this incident can be forgotten, but none of his parents or sisters apologized for their part in it. There are so many other incidents, but I don't want to stretch it. I will share them some other day. Oh my God, this is all within a year of marriage. This is psycho. Guys, we're not done yet. There's more. Most of my earnings went to him. My sister was also helping us a lot financially. I paid for 30% of his tuition fees before getting his dad's 70% deposit, his rent, pocket money, and some other things. I wasn't saving any money and he was spending all of it during the first 8 months. I can't even begin to tell you how shit was going downhill. I was trying my best to convince him that I'm living with my sister. Please, can you stop spending unnecessarily? Manage your finances and let me save some for our visas next year. I reminded him that we should return my father-in-law's money too. Nothing, absolutely nothing worked. In June of this year, his master program was completed and he wanted me to move to a city. By then, I had only saved 10% of the money. I asked him to give me 3 more months and I will save up enough to help us out and he can get a head start. He was not happy with it. We had an argument and he said that he wanted to divorce me and many other hurtful things. I was tired, hopeless, and above everything else, pissed. I told him, okay, go ahead and do it. He said, you are a good for nothing. You are not adding any value to my life and not even giving me my children. You are not worth anything, just a materialistic woman. You want me to hit you so that you can get some sympathy. I will cheat on you and bring other women home from now on. You will die in your sister's house and you will die alone. Oh my God. I cannot. I'm so sorry. This is every form of abuse. I can't begin to tell you how shattered I feel. Materialistic? Me? I married him when he had nothing. I bore all of the expenses during our marriage. Even back home, he had access to my bank cards and spent everything. And now he's calling me materialistic and good for nothing. I broke down and wanted to unalive myself. The next day, he told both the families that he has had enough and leaving me for good. He got his extended family involved too. For context, as a Muslim, if you say, I divorce you 3 times in one go to your wife while being in your sanity, you are religiously divorced. So to give context on that, she's right. So to get divorced with someone, you say talak, 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 or I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. But you have to say it in a sane mind. You can't be in like a heat of anger, ask you something you have to sleep on, and that people are saying like, okay, like you've slept on it. And like people in the community kind of have to know like this is happening and you're not just making a rash decision. While he was telling the families, I turned my phone off as I was at work and he was bombarding my phone with calls and messages. After 2 hours, I opened my phone and there was messages from him. Pick up your phone. I want to divorce you. If I do it over text, it's not legitimate. So pick up and let me say it. While I was seeing the text he called, my hands were shaking. I didn't pick up, but he didn't stop. Finally, I picked up and there it was. He divorced me 3 times and hung up. I lost my sanity. I called my sister and she asked me to book an Uber and just go home for the day. She's on her way. After a few hours, he again begged and asked for forgiveness, saying he did it in a fit of rage and didn't want to divorce me. I was the one who provoked him and asked him for it. Not even once did he take accountability for his wrongdoings. He kept on saying even though it was my fault, he wanted me back. A lot happened after that day. His family blamed it all on me. He is not divorcing me legally, dragging this whole scenario for 3 months now. He accused me of leaving him because he was earning less. He was struggling and I wanted more money. How can a person lie like this? He is the one who divorced me. How is it my doing? He is posting shit on social media like karma will get you and blah blah. Currently, I'm switching my visa and my family is supporting me in every way possible, but I feel I have nothing else to live for. People in our culture and society will always blame me for being a divorcee. How am I supposed to live with this tag? Clueless, hopeless, and shattered. Thank you for feeling comfortable enough to like actually send this to me. That does mean a lot. Like it makes like kind of what I do. I know it seems like it's just telling stories and stuff, but having an environment where you felt safe enough to send that to me really does like warm my heart. And I'm really, 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 really sorry that you're going through this because wow, that was a lot. I had to give myself like time to really process and what you said and read it over. So first, I wrote it down. So I'm really sorry that you're going through this. And I can tell how heavy the situation has been on your heart. And first, I want to say how incredibly strong you are for enduring everything that has happened. You've been carrying a lot on your shoulders, emotionally, financially, and mentally. And now it's time to start thinking about how to reclaim your peace and rebuild your life on your own terms. You are not defined by his words or actions. Your husband's cruel words and actions are not a reflection of your worth. He's blamed you for his shortcomings, which shows how deeply he is struggling with his own failures and insecurities. However, you are not responsible for his behavior or his choices. The sacrifices you made emotionally, financially, and personally shows your love and dedication. But there comes a time when you have to recognize that you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. And then when it comes to the divorce, focus on healing and not the cultural stigma. Trust me, I'm part of the same community. I understand how brutal it can be, but the label of being a divorcee in certain cultures can be suffocating. But please understand that your worth is far greater than any social judgment. No one in this world knows what you've been through besides you. Divorce does not define you as a failure. It reflects the strength to leave a toxic situation that was harming you. Healing takes time, and that's okay to feel hurt, confused, and even scared about your future. But what you have gone through does not make you less valuable. Surround yourself with your family and friends who understand and support you. And I'm really happy to hear that you have a mom and sister who will take care of you and be there for you. Take each day at its own pace, and know that healing is a journey.